Gentlemen, Happy New Year. Right. Oh, man.
We'll begin with an opening statement from Coach Martin, and then questions, please.
Excited to play South Carolina. Tough physical team. As you know, Frank has done a tremendous job. I think we've had some good practices, so I'm looking forward to it.
Questions, please.
Cuonzo, I know obviously you weren't in the SEC the last 3 years, but just, you know, the landscape. I mean, how much better do you think this league is than it's been recently?
Well, I just think if you look at numbers, RPIs, wins, and all that, you know, they send stuff through the league, and we get information. We have scouting service and all that. So from that standpoint, I think we're 1 or 2 in the country, 3. I'm not sure, but I think we're in pretty good shape. So when I left the league, it was, you know, you had teams that won games, but you win road games and your RPI falls some. But I don't think that's the case anymore because everybody's across the board. I've done a good job scheduling. I think just watching it from afar, I think the SEC took a lot of pride in talking about that. Even when I was in the league, they talked about how can we get RPI, how can we get our strength of schedules up, how can we work toward getting better as a league. So they obviously did the right things and doing a great job of it.
Does this South Carolina team, does it look like a typical Frank team,
Yeah.
especially the defensive end?
Yeah, they're tough, they're physical, they make it hard on you, they don't back down. And it's not, you know, Frank's guys, it's not so much of what year in school they are. They'll compete, they'll battle, they understand it. And when you come off a program, even though I think they have 7 or 8 new guys, when you come off, you know, going to a Final Four, then it's passed down to what it looks like when you talk about great programs, establishing identity. I think they've done a great job there. You know what Frank brings to the table, tremendous coach, leader, father, man. But the other parts of those guys in the locker room, Sindarius Thorne, where those guys passed that down to guys, even though it's new guys, they were around in the summertime. This is what we do around here. So though young and new, they understand what it takes in that program to be successful.
It's always disappointing to come into the break off a loss, but how important was it just for the guys to get refreshed mentally and physically?
I think it was good, just from the standpoint of have days off to practice. And I said it, I think maybe even before going into the last game, we need to get back to the basics on some of those things because you practice, you win games, and there's slippage going on, and you try to cover what needs to be covered as far as the next opponent. So I think the good part was just really get back to us and just really some of those things that we do every day.
Now that you've had some time to kind of reflect on that, what do you take away from the Illinois game?
We didn't play well in the first half, and I thought we missed a lot of shots in the second half. Good looks. Credit Illinois for coming out aggressive, setting the tone. We didn't have a presence defensively in the first half, and I think we were better in the second half, but not great. We were better. So it just goes to show the first 5-10 minutes of the game, you got to be ready to play.
It's pretty unusual not to have a game between Christmas and New Year's. Is that something you like, or is that just kind of the way
I
it
love
works
it.
out?
I mean, they probably need. I think they need to make it a rule. I really do. Unless you're in a holiday tournament, I think there's a tournament in Hawaii, Diamond Head. I think they might play on Christmas Day, but I think other than that, you need to have time off. I mean, give the guys a peace of mind. I mean, I think that's the one day time of the year kids need to be with their families, be away from it. You know, maybe set 4 or 5 days off with nothing going on around the country. Because you don't get these days back when it's all said and done. We can make games up, but you don't get these days back. Time being with your family, away from your family, it's hard. I mean, it's the most time I've had off since I left, you know, as a college player. I mean, when I left high school, it's the most time I've had off. I'm 46 years old. Just because you're playing games, and I'm not complaining about it, but I mean, it felt good to me.
Jordan said that a lot of the struggles with turnovers is just struggling with pressure defensively.
Yeah.
How do you fix that? Is there
Oh, you don't fix it. It's time. You just continue to improve your skill. And like I told our guys, we got a lot of good numbers, but just taking care of the ball. Some things there's some adjustments that I have to make as a coach to put them in position, because it's one thing to say get open and work toward things, but you got to really put them in position so they can get open and so they can see it. But also, I think the only thing is just continue skill work in some areas, but also wisdom and time of just understanding it, seeing it, feeling it, and they'll be okay.
After the Illinois game, you said you need more production from the power forward position per year, and John Day. What can the team do, I guess, and maybe on you as well, like to kind of help them when they're struggling to get some easy looks and get into the flow of things?
Now, I don't think they had been struggling. I think you look at Kevin's numbers, he hadn't played well for us, his numbers. But I wouldn't necessarily say he was struggling. I mean, he's struggling, he's 1 for 10, you know. 1 for that's struggling, but he wasn't struggling. I think with him, just getting a rhythm, get a flow. You can get guys post us, but those guys play on the perimeter as well. It's not just, I mean, even though they're big, they're not just low post guys, but they play on the perimeter. And I think in that particular game, we didn't get the production from those guys. For one, not to play well, but the other one, because a lot of things we do facilitate and kind of flow through that position, and both of those guys can handle and make good decisions. So then when you're struggling with your ball handling to get in position, and that position is struggling, it can be a long night for our team because of what we expect from those two guys. And again, it's not necessarily points, but it's things flow and kind of go through those guys in our offense.
Cuonzo, you've played against a lot of good veteran guards this year. How does Frank Booker stack up with some of those, and what are you going to need to do well to keep him in check tomorrow?
Well, you can't allow a guy like that with that level of experience and his ability to shoot the ball. I mean, Frank was shooting the ball. I saw him, I think, might have been I was at Tennessee when he was in high school in Augusta. He could really shoot it then. He went to Oklahoma out of high school, but an elite shooter. Gets him off and shoot him deep. And then it's one thing to have a guy that spot up and shoot shots, but he can come off stagger screens and shoot the shots. Now it puts pressure on your bigs to get up and show and do their job. And now they have bigs that are mobile to dive at the rim. So, again, you have to beat on the catch with him and make it hard for him. But he's an experienced guy. He knows how to get open. He knows how to get his shots off, and they'll look to get him shots.
You talked about the pressure and the turnovers and all that. Are we still point guard by committee, or are you starting to feel more comfortable with the growth curve of Blake Harris?
Well, I think all of them. I mean, you continue to work to get better. You continue to work to get better. I think it's just, one day at a time. Continue improving, facilitating offense, directing traffic, get us where we need to go. And again, the turnover is not necessarily the point guard either. I mean, it's other guys. But it's also me and helping them, putting them in position to be successful. So it was always a work in progress.
Mike was talking about his back injury and said that this was something that really 2 years ago happened. How familiar were you with the extent of it?
Wasn't familiar with the extent, obviously, till he got here. We have him working. So not as if something I read about and all that. It wasn't anything like that. And to his credit, practicing, playing, not complaining about it, doing rehab, normal rehab. And I think really the time when we play, I think Iowa State, and it's like, okay. But again, going through a game, you're not really knowing, and then, okay, here we are, it's an issue. Let's move forward. But it's not a case of in recruiting, because I really didn't recruit him out of high school, so to be able to study and understand that. So not much.
How would you describe his presence around the team over these last 2 months?
Well, I think he's around when he's around, but it's hard when you're not practicing. I mean, a guy that played this game, he played it for so long, and you're not a part of the practice. That's a tough thing to deal with when you've been doing it for so long. You expect to be out on the floor, and I'm watching. Man, I want this, but it's not easy. And I've sat out due to injury, and it's a hard thing because it's one thing the coach say, get involved and have energy, be on the sideline. Say, man, coach, I want to be out there, but everybody is different. It would be hard for me.
For you, when you went through your injuries, what's the process of when you're healthy or getting close to being healthy, re-entering the team and everything that they're doing when you haven't been a part of it?
Well, my case, and then like most of our guys, with the trainers, doctors, the rehab, and I give Mitch, for example, with the knee surgery, coming into it slowly. Now he's on the floor as far as a little bit of running, no contact, can get up and down the floor, does stuff on the sideline with Nicodemus, and that's how you progress. So now it goes from rehab training to the floor. Maybe it's whatever it is. In Mike's case, it might be catch and shoot, free throws, whatever it is, then you graduate to that, yeah.
Couple more questions, please.
How much say do you have in, say he is clear, when he gets cleared? How much say do you have in when he returns? Or who has that? Who makes that call?
No, I never make calls when you're talking about physical and health. I mean, that's not my place as a coach because I try to make that very clear because I never want a player to feel like, well, coach is pressuring me to play because I've had injuries and sometimes I probably didn't need to be out there on the floor. And not that anybody made me, but just you don't want to pressure a young man to do something, to feel some way. So the pressure won't come from me as a coach. I mean, that's trainers and doctors' decisions to make, and whatever they say to me, then that's what it is. I mean, even with our guys now, give you Mitch an example. When he's able to run up and down the floor, that's the trainer, the strength coach, relaying it to me so he can run it down the floor. That's it. I mean, it's not a case of when is he back on the floor. I've never asked that question about when is Mike coming back. And I don't ask him that because I never want a young man to feel like, man, that's coach pressure me to come out. That's not this. Because this, again, the health is the biggest concern for me and whatever that is. But I never want to have that presence or set that type of tone.
Non-conference season done, SEC season opens tomorrow night. Where do you like where this team's coming together 13 games in?
Oh, I like our team. I like them a lot. I mean, we're doing a lot of really good things. Again, I think the biggest thing offensively, minimize the turnovers, keep working toward that, minimizing turnovers, because that way we can get more offensive possessions, more shots at the rim, continue to try to get the ball inside to those big guys, and defensively continue to improve. I think we got a lot of room for improvement defensively. Even just individual skill, just continue to get better and better. But I like our guys a lot.
Coach, what was the difference between the Stephen F. Austin game and Illinois? In both games, Jordan guys struggled, but you went with him down the stretch against Stephen F. Austin, saying you knew he had his tank. Then Illinois, you didn't really go with him down the stretch. What was the difference?
I think the biggest thing is I thought Blake had a better flow in the second half, really trying to attack the rim against Illinois. It just, one of those nights it just wasn't there. But I think the thing that saved us more than anything is Stephen F. Austin. We were at home, and we made enough shots. And the last game was a neutral site game. We came up short. But in Guy's case, just felt like he didn't have it. Not that going into the game I felt a certain way about him. I thought he was ready to go. I think he had 7 minutes, 4 turnovers. So it's part of the game. Move on, find the next guy.
Anything else for Coach? Thanks,
Cuonzo,
everybody.
when you were injured, was it knees that kept you out?
Yeah, for me, it was the knees because I had three knee surgeries on the left knee. I had 2 pins since '87 on my left knee, so I fractured it. And there was 1 on my right knee. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Put the gum in your water.
Oh, you see that?
TV in that.
Oh man, this Patrick's water bottle.